welcome to this second session and our first look exploring session at The Woman in the Moon, as it was presented before Her Highness by John Lyly sometime in the end of the 1580s, very beginning of the 1590s. Opinions vary. It is in verse. For the most part, we're going to actually suddenly trip over a bit of prose in a bit. Spoilers, I know, for the readers. But yes, now, Fritz Lang produced a film called The Woman in the Moon, which has almost no connection with this whatsoever. It's a slightly tedious film for the most part, unless you're looking for design work influences on Tintin. But if you take a sidestep into other Fritz Lang, it feels to me very similar to Metropolis, in the sense that what we've got here is this avatar of womanhood being created, in this case by nature, which is given a confused source code from various different planets in the room, who interfere with her programming, so that Pandora goes from being all warlike to being very judgmental to being very much in love. And at the moment she is in lust mode and has just decided to walk off or become enamoured with all of her suitors, one or at a time, or for that matter all at once. So we have this situation where a central character of Pandora is being manipulated continually, is being pressed with four suitors, four shepherds who have been living in Utopia at the control of, to a degree, of nature, and we are midway through the play as all of these various threads are now all in play. We've had 5 planets influencing Pandora so far. We have 2 more left to go before we move in the general direction of some kind of conclusion. As ever with John Lyly, the question of how he's going to leave us by the end is very ripe. He has set up a situation which presents all sorts of questions, issues and challenges that we may or may not know how to unpack at this time, but hopefully we will know by the end of the session when we know how the play lands. To continue our journey through this play, we're midway through Act 3, Scene 2. We have in the room reading nature is...
Briony in the East Midlands.
Reading soul today is...
Rachael Nicole, actor in New Jersey.
Reading Saturn today is...
Almost there. Hi, I'm Valentina, and I am an actor and voiceover artist in London.
Reading Luna today is...
Aliki Chapple, actor and translator in Lancaster.
Reading Mars is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian and I'm in Yorkshire.
Reading Iphicles today is one of the shepherds.
Yes, hello, Dan, still based in Montpellier, France.
Another one of the shepherds, Stesias today, is read by...
Hi, Steve Longstaffe, based in North Lancashire.
Another one of these pesky shepherd-type people, Learchus, is...
Alexandra, hello.
And also another one, Melos, is...
And I'm also based in Romford.
Sorry, just say that again. You're beginning cut off slightly. We just lost your name.
Hello, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author based in Romford.
Excellent, got all of that. Reading Mercury, another one of those pesky god/planet people, is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I wish I had feathered sandals, but I do not. It would definitely cut on air costs and, air travel.
It would indeed. Reading one of the Pandoras. We've split Pandora into 2 parts for this session. So for Act 3 and for Act 4, reading Pandora will be...
Liza Graham, an actor, singer, general theatre bard in London.
We will then hand the baton of Pandora in Act 5 over to... muted at present.
Sorry, Sarah Blake in Germany.
And reading the servant to Pandora, assigned by nature, Gunophilus in Act 3 and Act 4 is... Ooh, strangely no sound there from Alan. No, still no sound. Not getting any sound at all. You are not muted. Should have tested that before we started, shouldn't I?
I thought we had 1, 2 test.
Yes, we can hear you, Alan.
Damn computer crashed just before we started, so...
So, introduce yourself to the room.
Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
And taking on the mantle of the servant Gunophilus in Act 5 will be...
Hi, Tamara, also in Germany.
And there will be some additional parts to be sort of handed out randomly, which I'll endeavour to help fill in. There's an awful lot of parts, but many of them don't say an awful lot, and we have a fairly full room. But irritatingly, they all tend to turn up at exactly the same time, so doubling is an absolute sod. Anyway, we are midway through Act 3, Scene 2. Venus has taken charge of Pandora's motivations for this continuation of Pandora's attempt to emulate the great text that is Whose Line Is It Anyway? Pandora has just left the stage with Iphicles and Melos, and possibly are getting up to fun things somewhere else, where now we have the entrance of Stesias, in theory her husband, or at least her betrothed, with Gunophilus, her servant.
Are we coming out of the cave, Rob?
Are you coming out of the cave?
Yes, sorry. He said midway along in 3-2. I thought we were going from the start of it, so I don't know where we're going from.
Going from where it says break in bold.
Okay.
Enter Stesias and Gunophilus.
Did beastly Arcus court my heavenly love? Pardon me, Pan. If to revenge this deed I shed the blood of that dissembling swain, with jealous fire my heart begins to burn. Bring me where he is, Gunophilus, lest he entice Pandora from my bower.
I know not where he is, but here he'll be. I must provide the banquet and be gone.
What? Will the shepherds banquet with my wife? Oh, light Pandora, canst thou be thus false? Tell me, where is this wanton banquet kept, that I may hurl the dishes at their heads, and mingle the wine with blood, and end the feast with tragic outcries like the Theban lord where fair Hippodamia was espoused?
Here in this place, for so she pointed me.
Where might I hide me to behold the same?
Oh, in this cave, for over this they'll sit.
Yeah, but then I shall not see them when they kiss.
Yet you may hear what they say. If they kiss, I'll holler.
But do so, my sweet Gunophilus, and I, as a strong wind bursting from the earth, so will I rise out of the hollow vault, making the woods shake with my furious words.
But if they come not at all, or when they come do use themselves honestly, then come not out, lest you seeming jealous make her over-hate you.
Not for the world, unless I hear thee call, or else their wanton speech provoke me forth.
Well in then, were it not a pretty jest to bury him quick? I warrant it would be a good while ere she would scratch him out of his grave with her nails. And yet she might too, for she hath digged such vaults in my face that ye may go from my chin to my eyebrows betwixt the skin and the flesh. Wonder not at it, good people. I can prove there has been 2 or 3 merchants with me to hire rooms to lay in wine, but they do not stand so convenient as they would wish. For indeed they are every one too near my mouth, and I am a great drinker. I had a quarter's rent beforehand. Well, it be known to all men that I have done this to conute my master, but yet I could never have opportunity. You would little think my neck is grown awry with looking back, as I have been a kissing, for fear he should come. And yet it is a fair example. Beware of kissing, brethren. What doth the cave open? Here she and he have done. He'll pick the lock with his horn.
Enter Pandora.
Whew. Now have I played with wanton Iphicles, yea, and kept touch with Melos, both are pleased. Now worthy Arcus, here, But stay, methinks here is Gunophilus. I'll go with him.
Mistress, my master is in this cave, thinking to meet you and Learchus here.
What, is he jealous? Come, Gunophilus, in spite of him I'll kiss thee 20 times.
Oh, look how my lips quiver for fear.
Where is my husband? Speak, Gunophilus.
He is in the woods, and will be here anon.
Ay, but he shall not. His fellow swains will meet me in this bower, who for his sake I mean to entertain. If he knew of it, he would meet them here. Ah, wheresoe'er he be, safe may he be. Thus hold I up my hands to heaven for him. Thus weep I for my dear love Stesias.
When will the shepherds come?
Immediately. Prepare the banquet straight. Meantime I'll pray that Stesias may be here. Bring Iphicles and Melos with thee. Tell them of my husband, descendit ad inferos.
You'll love them then?
No, only thee. Yet let them sit with me.
Content, so you but sit with them.
And exit Gunophilus. Enter Learchus.
Why hath Pandora thus deluded me?
Learchus, whilst my husband's in this cave, thinking to take us together here.
Shall I slay him and enjoy thee still?
No, let him live. But had he Argus eyes, he should not keep me from Learchus' love. Thus will I hang about Learchus' neck and suck out happiness from forth his lips.
And this shall be the heaven that I'll aim at.
Enter Gunophilus.
Sic vos non vobis, sic vos non vobis.
What meanst thou by that?
Here is a comment upon my words.
He throws the glass down and breaks it.
Wherefore dost thou break the glass?
I'll answer it. Shall I provide a banquet and be cozened of the best dish? I hope so. You have said grace, and now may I fall too.
He takes his mistress by the hand and embraceth her.
Ah, away base, swain.
Sir, as base as I am, I'll go for current here.
What will Pandora be thus light?
You stand upon the weight. Well, if she were 20 grains lighter, I would not refuse her, provided always she be not clipped within the ring.
Gunophilus, thou art too malapert. Think nothing, for I cannot shift him off. Sirrah, provide the banquet, you are best.
I will, and that incontinently. For indeed, I cannot abstain.
Exit Gunophilus.
Here, take thou Melos' favours, keep it close, for he and Iphicles will straight be here. I love them not, they both importune me, yet must I make as if I love them both. Here they come. Welcome, Learchus, to Pandora's feast.
Enter Melos and Iphicles.
It's Learchus here.
Wherefore should Melos banquet with my love?
Riseth against this Iphicles.
Melos, my love, sit down, sweet Iphicles.
She danced Learchus with a strange aspect.
She whispers unto him.
I warn you.
Here's to the health of Stesias, my love. Would he were here to welcome all you three.
I will go seek him in the husky groves.
You lose your labour then. Here's at his flock.
Aye, he weighs his flock more than me.
And she weeps.
Oh, Pandora, for he loves thee well.
And I love him.
Why is Melos sad?
For thee I am sad. Thou hast injured me.
Knows not Melos I love him?
Thou injurest me, and I will be revenged.
Hath Iphicles forgot my words?
If I should holler, they were all undone.
They both are jealous, yet mistrust me not.
Here, Melos.
I pledge thee, Iphicles.
Learchus, go, thou know'st my mind.
Shall I sit here thus to be made a stale? Lovely Pandora means to follow me. Farewell this feast, and my banquet comes not yet.
And exit Learchus.
Let him go.
Pandora, go with me to Stesias.
No, rather go with me.
Away, base Iphicles!
Coward, hand off, or else I'll strike thee down.
My husband hears you. Will you strive for wine? Give us a fresh cup. I will have you friends.
I defy thee, Iphicles.
I, thee, Melos.
Both of them are drunk.
Is this thy love to me?
Nay, if you fall out, farewell. Now will I go meet Learchus.
And exit Pandora.
I see thy juggling. Thou shalt want thy will.
Follow me if thou darest, and fight it out.
If I dare, yes, I dare and will. Come thou.
Holla! Holla!
And Stesias riseth out of the cave.
Where is the villain that hath kissed my love?
Nobody, master.
Why strive they then?
'Twas for a cup of wine. They were all drunk.
Whither is my wife gone?
To seek you.
Oh, Pandora, pardon me, thou art chaste. Thou madest me to suspect her. Take thou that.
Oh, master, I did for goodwill to you.
And I beat thee for goodwill to her. What hast thou to do betwixt man and wife?
Too much with the man, too little with the wife.
And exeunt, end of Act 3. So, yeah, it's a busy scene, and somewhat confusing. There needs to be an awful lot of additions in terms of who's siding to whom. There's an awful lot of people whispering to one person but not to the other person who's on stage. There's additional potential entrances and exits going on. We've got someone hiding in a cave, and once again we have a cave. We always like these slightly Freudian caves that exist here. We've had them in a few plays of late, and which are or are not pure coincidences. So yes, we've got an awful lot of people interested in Pandora, and Pandora seems to be having some fun.
Yeah, she's going Pokemon on those shepherds. She gotta catch them all.
Well, yeah, that covers it. Well, that's a good précis for the scene, isn't it? Thoughts in the room. Obviously, those who were here yesterday and sort of know where this has been building over the course of this scene, as Venus's I say Venus via Cupid, etc., has led to Pandora doing this, and so she has been dancing between all the shepherds. In theory, of course, her beau is Stesias, but that has gone obviously somewhat wrong. Thoughts in the room? Anyone want to leap in? Aliki.
So I don't know where we're going with this, but there's something really nice about seeing a woman on stage being portrayed as just enjoying sex a lot and wanting more of it. I know it's like not her agency or anything, but it's fun all the same. I like it.
Well, she does seem to do quite a good job of managing the various dudes so that they don't come into conflict with one another. So it's like, in the age before Excel spreadsheets, this is very impressive time management skills. The Venus section of the play, I think, is the longest section of the longest time any of the planets have, because, well, if you have 4 shepherds and one central female protagonist, and this becomes plus a horny servant, this becomes a lot of fun.
Yes, I mean, let's not forget the servant is part of this mix as well, that Gunophilus has been offered a part of this. I mean, it's a mini bedroom farce, isn't it? You've got people coming on, off, and structurally, that's what we have got antecedent to an awful lot of comedy that comes further down the road. Though, of course, there are earlier examples of this kind of thing that exists. Other thoughts? You don't have to have any. It's early in the session. We've got 2 chunky acts to get through. They are acts that contain 1 scene apiece, though we may pause in the middle of each. I don't know yet. I'm going to see how that all functions. But does anyone have any additional thoughts before we move on? Tamara.
Well, just a comment really about how it's following the theme of the boy company's plays. You know, with stuff and filth.
Stuff and filth. Yes, there's some great potential for stuff and filth. Which yes, boy company territory there. I think they should put that on the posters. So yeah, anything else? No, I'm feeling we need to get into the flow of things a bit more. So let's get into Act 4, and I will ask. Valentina, I'll ask you briefly to read Venus, please. It's an epic role. I don't know if this is going to clash with Venus later on and your actual part today, but for the moment, if you could read Venus. We have at the beginning of Act 4, we have the entrance of Mercury. Venus has been above watching all of what's been going on and will descend in a moment. Enter Mercury.
Empress of Love, give Hermes leave to reign. My course comes next, therefore resign to me.
Descend, Venus.
Ascend, thou winged pursuivant of love.
Now shall Pandora be no more in love, and all these swains that were her favorites shall understand their mistress hath played false, and loathing her blab old to Stesias. Now is Pandora in my regiment, and I will make her false and full of slights, thievish, lying, subtle, eloquent, for these alone belong to Mercury.
So Mercury having taken the place of Venus and changing the request from the audience, we have enter Melos, Learchus, and Iphicles.
Unkind Pandora to delude me thus. Alexandra's out.
Alexandra's out. Okay. Who is free? I will ask Aliki. Could you briefly step in to be Learchus here? I think you can.
Too kind Learchus that hath loved her thus.
Melos is muted at present. Let's just start this little exchange again, I think, shall we? So enter Melos, Learchus, and Iphicles here.
Unkind Pandora to delude me thus.
Too kind Learchus that hath loved her thus.
Too foolish Melos that yet dotes on her.
Black be the ivory of her ticing face.
Dimmed be the sunshine of her ravishing eyes.
Fair may her face be, beautiful her eyes.
Oh, Iphicles, abjure her, she's false.
To thee, Learchus, and to Melos false.
Nay, she was all too false and full of guile.
How many thousand kisses gave she me, and every kiss mixed with an amorous glance.
How oft have I leaned on her silver breast, she singing on her lute, and Melos being the note.
Awaken, that sweet pastime have I had, for love is watchful, I can never sleep.
But ere I slept,
when I had list,
what then?
Catera quis nescit.
Melos prevents me that I should have said.
Blush, Iphicles, and in thy rosy cheeks let all the heat that feeds thy heart appear.
Droop not, fair Iphicles, for her misdeeds, but to revenge it, haste to Stesias.
Yea, he shall know she is lascivious.
In this complaint I'll join with thee. Let us go.
Stay, here he comes.
And enter Stesias with Gunophilus.
Oh, Stesias, what heavenly love hast thou? A love as chaste as is Apollo's tree, as modest as the vestal virgin's eye, and yet as bright as glowworms in the night, with which the morning decks her lover's hair. O fair Pandora, blessed Stesias.
O foul Pandora, cursed Stesias.
What meanst thou, Iphicles?
Ah, is she fair that is lascivious? Or that swain breast that she makes but a stale?
He means thy love, unhappy Stesias.
My love, no. Shepherds, this is but a stale to make me hate Pandora, whom I love. So whispered late the false Gunophilus. Let it suffice, I believe you not.
Love is deaf, blind, and incredulous. I never hung about Pandora's neck. She never termed me fair and thee black, swain.
Unto Melos in her bower, nor is his green bower strewed with primrose leaves.
I kissed her not, nor did she term me love. Pandora is the love of Stesias.
Sirrah, bid your mistress come hither.
I shall, sir.
And exit Gunophilus.
I never hung about Pandora's neck. She played not unto Melos in her bower. I kissed her not, nor did she term me love. These words argue Pandora to be light. She played the wanton with these amorous swains. By all these streams that interlace these floods, which may be venom to her thirsty soul, I'll be revenged as never shepherd was. Now, foul Pandora, a wicked Stesias.
Enter Gunophilus and Pandora.
Mistress, 'tis true. I heard them. Venture not.
Fenced with her tongue and guarded with her wit, thus goes Pandora unto Stesias.
Detested falser, that to Stesias' eyes are more incestuous than the basilisk.
Gunophilus, Pandora is undone. Her love, her joy, her life hath lost his wits. Offer a kid in Aesculapius' name, that he may cure him, lest I die outright.
I'll offer it at Aesculapius, but he shall not have him. But when he comes to himself, I must answer it.
Go, I say.
No, stay. I am well. 'Tis thou that makes me rave. Thou play'st the wanton with my fellow swains.
Then die, Pandora. Art thou in thy wits and call'st me wanton?
And she falls down, as demonstrated there.
Oh, master, what have you done?
Divine Pandora, arise. Pardon me.
I cannot but forgive thee, Stesias. But by this light, if...
Look how she winks.
Stay, my love. Though I know it, 'twas their device.
He that must win me must have Stesias' shape, such golden hair, such alabaster looks. Wilt thou know why I loved not Jupiter? Because he was unlike my Stesias.
Was ever silly shepherd thus abused? All three affirmed Pandora held them dear.
It was to bring me in disgrace with thee, that they might have some hope I would be theirs. I cannot wake but they importune me. How many amorous letters have they sent, what gifts, yet all in vain. To prove which true, I'll bear this slander with a patient mind, speak them all fair, and ere the sun go down, I'll bring thee where they used to lie in wait to rob me of my honor in the groves.
Do so, sweet wife. They shall buy it dear. Oh, I cannot stay. My sheep must to the fold.
And exit Stesias.
Go, Stesias, as simple as a sheep. And now, Pandora, summon all thy wits to be revenged upon these long-tongued swains. Gunophilus, bear Iphicles this ring. Tell him I rave and languish for his love. Will him to meet me in this mead alone, and swear his fellows have deluded him. Bear this to Melos. Say that for his sake I stabbed myself, and hadst not thou been near, I had been dead. But yet I am alive, calling for Melos, whom I only love. And to Learchus, bear these passionate lines, which, if he be not flint, will make him come.
I will, and you shall see how cunningly I'll use them. Stay here, and I will send them to you one after another, and then use them as your wisdom shall think good.
And exit Gunophilus.
That letter did I pen doubting the worst, and dipped the napkin in the lambkin's blood. For Iphicles, were he compact of iron, my ring is adamant to draw him forth. Let women learn by me to be revenged. I'll make them bite their tongues and eat their words, yea, swear unto my husband all is false. My wit is pliant and invention sharp to make these novices that injure me. Young Iphicles must boast I favoured him. Here I protest as Helen to her love, oscula luctanti tantum modo pauca protenos abstulit, ulteris, nil hahet ille mei. And what's a kiss? Too much for Iphicles?
Melos is wily, and Learchus false. Here is Pandora's ring. She is mine. It was a stratagem laid for my love. Oh, foolish Iphicles, what hast thou done? Must thou betray her unto Stesias?
Here will I sit till I see Iphicles, sighing my breath, out weeping my heart blood. Go, soul, and fly unto my liefest love, a fair subject to be in Elysium.
Can I hear this? Can I view her? Oh, no.
But I will view thee, my sweet Iphicles. Thy looks are physic. Suffer me to gaze, that for thy sake am thus distempered.
Pale be my looks to witness my amiss.
And mine to show my love. Lovers are pale.
And so is Iphicles.
And so Pandora. Let me kiss my love and add a better colour to his cheeks.
Bury all thy anger in this kiss, and make me not with uttering my offence.
Who can be angry with one whom she loves? Rather had I to have no thoughts at all than but one ill thought of my Iphicles. Go unto Stesias, and deny thy words, for he hath thrust me from his cabinet. For as I have done, I will love thee still. Delay no time, haste, gentle Iphicles, and meet me on Enipia's sedgy banks.
When shall I meet thee? Tell me, my bright love.
At midnight, Iphicles. Till then, farewell.
Farewell, Pandora. I'll to Stesias.
And exit Iphicles.
Thus will I serve them all. Now, Melos, come. I love thee too, as much as Iphicles.
Enter Melos.
This is Pandora's blood. Hast, Melos, hast, and in her presence lance thy flesh as deep. Wicked Learchus, subtle Iphicles, you have undone me by your reaching wit.
Gunophilus, where is Gunophilus? Give me the knife thou pulledst from my breast. Melos is gone and left Pandora here. Witness, ye wounds, witness, ye silver streams, that I am true to Melos, only true, and he betrayed me unto Stesias.
Forgive me, love, it was not I alone. It was Learchus and false Iphicles.
'Tis not Learchus nor that Iphicles that grieves me, but that Melos is unkind. Melos, for whom Pandora strained her voice playing with every letter of his name. Melos, for whom Pandora made this wound. Melos, for whom Pandora now will die.
Fine Pandora, stay thy desperate hand. May summer's lightning burn our autumn crop. The thunder's teeth plough up our fairest groves. The scorching sunbeams dry up all our springs, and rough winds blast the beauty of our plains. If Melos love not thee more than his heart.
So Melos swears, but 'tis a lover's oath.
Once guilty and suspected evermore, I'll ne'er be guilty more. Suspect me not.
Nor I suspect thee more, mistrust me not. Learchus never touched Pandora's lips, nor Iphicles received a friendly word. Melos hath all my favours, and for all do only this, and I'll be only thine. Go unto Stesias and deny thy words, and as the sun goes down, I'll meet thee here.
I will, Pandora, and to cure thy wound, receive these virtuous herbs which I have found.
Ah, a pretty swain, worthy Pandora's love. But I have written to Learchus, and I will keep my promise, though I die, which is...
And enter Learchus with a letter and Gunophilus.
Which is to cousin him as he did me.
Learchus, my love. Learchus. Oh, the iteration of my name argues for her affection. Was it my desert, thine, alas, Pandora? It was my destiny to be credulous on these miscreants.
Look, she's writing to you again.
What, is he come? Then shall my tongue declaim, yet I am bashful and afeard to speak.
Blush not, Pandora. Who hath made most fault?
I that solicit thee which loves me not.
I that betrayed thee which offended not.
Learchus, pardon me.
Pandora, pardon me.
All friends, and so they kissed.
I can but smile to think thou wast deceived. Learchus, thou must to my husband straight and say that thou art sorry for thy words, and in the evening I'll meet thee again under the same grove where we both sat last.
Will, Pandora. Ooh, but look where he comes.
Then give me leave to dissemble. 'Tis not thy sorrow that can make amends. Were I a man, thou shouldst repent thy words. I...
Learchus, will you stand unto your words?
Oh, Stesias, pardon me. 'Twas their deceit. I am sorry that I injured her.
They lay the fault on thee, and thou on them. Take thee that.
Striking him.
Stesias, leave! You shall not fight for me. Go, Learchus. I am Stesias's.
Art thou?
No, Learchus. She doth but say so.
Out of my ground, Learchus, from my land, and henceforth come not near my lawns. Pandora, come. Gunophilus, away.
Learchus, meet me straight, the time draws nigh.
Time draws nigh. Oh, that the time were now. I go to meet Pandora at the grove.
And exit Learchus. Enter Melos.
When will the sun go down? Fly, Phoebus, fly! Oh, that thy steeds were winged with my swift thoughts! Now shouldst thou fall in Thetis' azure arms, and now would I fall in Pandora's lap.
And enter Iphicles.
Wherefore did Jupiter create the day? Sweet is the night when every creature sleeps. Come, night, come, gentle night, for thee I stay.
Wherefore doth Iphicles desire the night?
Who's that? Melos? Thy words did make me afeard. I wish for midnight but to take the wolf, which kills my sheep, for which I make a snare. Melos, farewell. I must go watch my flocks.
And exit Iphicles.
And I, my love, here she will meet me straight. See where she comes, hiding her blushing eyes.
Enter Stesias in woman's apparel.
My love, Pandora, for whose sake I live. Hide not thy beauty, which is Melos' son. Here is none but us two. Lay aside of thy veil.
Here is Stesias. Melos, you are deceived.
And he striketh Melos.
Pandora has deceived me. I am undone.
So will I not, sir. I mean simply.
And exit. Enter Pandora with Gunophilus.
Come, hast thou all his jewels and his pearls?
Aye, all. But tell me, which way shall we go?
Unto the seaside and take shipping straight.
Well, I'm revenged at last of my master. I pray God I may be thus even with all mine enemies, only to run away with their wives.
Gunophilus, for thee I have done this.
Aye, and for yourself also too. I'm sure you will not beg by the way.
For thee I'll beg and die, Gunophilus.
Aye, so I think. The world is so hard that if you beg, you may sure to be starved.
I prithee, be not so churlish.
Oh, this is but mirth. Do you not know? Commes factus et tanquam vehiculus in via. A merry companion is as good as a wagon, for you shall be sure to ride, though ye go afoot.
Gunophilus, setting this mirth aside, dost thou not love me more than all the world?
Be you as steadfast to me as I'll be to you, and we two will go to the world's end. And yet we cannot, for the world is round, and seeming 'tis round, let's dance in the circle. Come, turn about.
When I forsake thee, heaven itself shall fall.
No, God forbid. Then perhaps we should have larks.
And they exit. Enter Stesias.
This is Anapius Bank. Here she should be.
Enter Iphicles.
What? Is it midnight? Time hath been my friend. Come, sweet Pandora, all is safe and whist. Whither flies my love?
Follow me, follow me. Here comes Stesias.
She hath betrayed me. Whither shall I fly?
Either to the river or else thy grave.
And he strikes Iphicles. Enter Learchus.
Because the script has just gone running away. So apologies.
Is it terminal?
No, it's just got somewhere random in the script. Could someone give me a
Strikes
line to search by?
The evening's past, yea, midnight is at hand.
Fabulous. The evening's past, yea, midnight is at hand, and yet Pandora comes not at the grove.
But Stesias is her deputy. He comes, and with his sheep up greets Learchus thus.
And he lays about.
Pardon me, Stesias, 'twas Pandora's wiles that hath betrayed me. Trust her not, she is false.
Why dost thou tell me the contrary? Take that. She is honest, but thou wouldst seduce her. Away from my grove, out of my land. Did I not give thee warning?
And exit. So we have a different kind of sort of inverted bedroom farce here, as the we've got Stesias dressing up as Pandora and beating anyone who tries to run off with her, while unfortunately at the same time she's running off with the servant. So yeah, it's fascinating. And an interesting counterpoint to the previous scene that we had. And again, okay, there's the influence of the planets again, but it's a very interesting counterpoint of the two scenes. Thoughts on the room? Who wants to leap in? Helen, muted at present.
How very unusual for me to be muted. Yeah, it's an amazing part as Pandora. And what staggers me is how quickly the different gods take effect. There's no smooth transition from one type of person to another. It's instant. And she's suddenly a completely different person.
That's why I said it's a bit like whose line is it anyway? It's like they've literally gone and the next and Pandora go and play the scene this way. It feels like an improvisational exercise, just in action. Liza.
Yeah, this play would, it might be fun as in the kind of drama school plays where they have to give good parts to everyone, because you could multi-role Pandora with each new planet a new actor could take over, but they would all be Pandora.
I am Pandora. I am Pandora. I am Pandora, and so's my wife. Other thoughts?
I think if they did what Liza said, it wouldn't be nearly as effective as having one person with all these different moods.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's just that, in drama schools, they tend to chop up the good parts and let everyone have a go, and this would provide a vehicle to do that. Yeah. But yeah, if I went to see a professional production, or if I were an actor, I'd want to do the whole thing.
Sure.
Yeah, because this is a play that, to a degree, only has a relatively small core cast. We've got an awful lot of very, very small parts who sort of pop in. And I'm thinking now, actually, you could double this down and contract it down quite considerably if you've got the gods are all wearing masks or are very specific cost, and you muck around a little bit with how they actually interact with the very beginning and the very end. And actually, the core company could be down to a very small number, actually, because it's mostly shepherds and Pandora and servants. So there's a core company of 6 plus interchangeable gods. So you might, with a little bit of jiggery-pokery and dancing around, say make it work for about 8 to 10, rather than 30. Or 20-something, whatever it is. Elizabeth's been waving for a while, sorry.
No, I really enjoy what you just said, Rob, and Liza. I think that the text really works as an ensemble cast. I think that's one of its major strengths. The way the characters come in and leave, and the dynamics between them are really cool. I love, as Aliki said, that Pandora is like this. It reminds me of the film She's Gotta Have It by Spike Lee. I don't know if anyone's seen that. But she just goes after what she wants, and there's these 3 shepherds that are all besotted with her. And I love the way Pandora says that she loves them all. She doesn't choose. She doesn't make the choice. But I just think as an ensemble cast, the text works really well with giving each of the characters the opportunity to shine. And it builds their characters really well, that we get a strong sense of who Iphicles is, we get a strong sense of who Pandora is as well.
Other thoughts in the room? We only have one more act to go. It's a big chunky old act. We'll probably pause at least once, but we are galloping towards the end. I have to say, my favourite line so far in this little sequence has got to be Gunophilus just turning presumably to the audience at one point and just going, as Learchus and Pandora make out, all friends, and so they kissed. It's just such a weird line. It just sort of leapt out at me. And yeah, she's going off with her servant. I don't know how precisely this all is functioning. So it's interesting, Eric.
The one that got me was "Beware of kissing, brethren," and it's like, okay.
That one goes on a T-shirt, either with a comma or without.
Yeah. Yes. Other thoughts?
I mean, it's huge fun, isn't it? That's the whole kind of, what do you call it? 3 Musketeers. I will meet you there at such and such a time, and I will meet you there at such and such a time.
And then they get clobbered one by one by this Stesias in Pandora costume. And the script, we're reading the script pretty much as typos aside, as published. I'm looking at the Revels edition now, and it is full. It is absolutely full for this act of additional notes as to exits and entrances. There's an awful lot more of people coming on, coming off, coming on, coming off. And if you boil this scene down, it is incredibly busy. So we have these 2 little mini farces that we've played in the last 2 scenes. I mean, each of these scenes, these acts have sort of centered around some kind of little farcical moment. So in the same way as during the Mars scene, we have the farcical fight scene when she's fighting everybody as well. And so there's a huge amount of potential for how that's all functioning. I'm just talking because nobody else is waving at me. Please, someone stop me. No, nobody has anything else. Okay, we'll go into Act 5 then. We have a new setup. I don't know if this is a new god coming in to take the change here, but we have the entrance initially of Luna, and in a moment we'll have, there's no stage direction for it, the entrance of Gunophilus and Pandora. So enter Luna.
Now other planets' influence is done. To Cynthia, lowest of the erring stars, is beauteous Pandora given in charge. And as I am, so shall Pandora be. Newfangled, fickle, slothful, foolish, mad, in spite of nature that envies us all.
Come, come, Pandora, we must make more haste, or Stesias will overtake us both.
I cannot go no faster. I must rest.
We're almost at the seaside. I pray thee, rise.
Oh, I am faint and weary. Let me sleep.
Pandora, if thou love me, let us go.
Why dost thou waken me? I'll remember this.
What? Are you angry with me?
No, with myself, for loving such a swain. What fury made me dote upon these looks? Like winter's picture are his withered cheeks, his hair as raven's plumes. Ooh, touch me not! His hands are like the fins of some foul fish. Look how he mows, like to an aged ape over the chain. Jack, or I'll make thee leap.
What, a sudden change is here?
Now he swears by his 10 bones. Down, I say!
Did I not tell you I should have larks?
Where is the larks? Come, we'll go catch some straight. No, let us go fishing with a net. With a net? No, an angle is enough. An angle, a net. No, none of both. I'll wade into the water. Water is fair, and stroke the fishes under the gills. But first I'll go a-hunting in the wood. Oh, I like not hunting. Let me have a hawk. What wilt thou say? If I love thee still?
Anything, what you will.
But shall I have a gown of oaken leaves, a chaplet of red berries, and a fan made of the morning dew to cool my face? How often will you kiss me in an hour? And where shall we sit till the sun be down? For nocte latent mendi.
What then?
I will not kiss thee till the sun be down. Thou art deformed. The night will cover thee. We women must be modest in the day. You, tempt me not till evening come.
Lucretia tota cis licet usque die, thaida node volo. Hate me a days and love me in the night.
Dost thou me Tias? Go and love not me. I am not Tias. I'll be Lucretia. Aye, give me a knife, and for my chastity I'll die to be a canonized a saint.
But you will love me when the sun is down.
No, but I will not.
Did you not promise me?
No! I saw thee not till now.
You see me now?
Aye, and loathe thee.
Belike I was a spirit all this while.
Oh, a spirit, a spirit. Whither may I fly?
Enter Stesias.
I see Pandora and Gunophilus.
I see Stesias. Welcome, Stesias.
Gunophilus, thou hast inveigled her and robbed me of my treasure and my wife. I'll strip thee to the skin for this offence, and put thee in a wood to be devoured of empty tigers and hungry wolves. And nor shall thy sad looks move me unto ruth.
Pardon me, master, she is lunatic, foolish and frantic, and I followed her, only to save the goods and bring her back. Why think you I would run away with her?
Oh, he need not, for I'll run away with him. And yet I will go home with Stesias. So I shall have a white lamb, colour black, 2 little sparrows, and a spotted fawn.
I fear it is too true that he reports.
Nay, stay a while, and you shall see her dance.
No, I will not dance, but I will sing. Stesias has a white hand, but his nails are black. His fingers are long and small, shall I make them crack? 1, 2, and 3, I love him and he loves me. Beware of the sheep hook, I'll tell you one thing. If you ask me why I sing, I say, ye may go look.
Pandora, speak. Lovest thou Gunophilus?
Aye, if he be a fish. For fish? Oh, fine! Oh, sweet Stesias, help me to a whiting mop.
Now I perceive she is a lunatic. What may I do to bring her to wits?
Speak, gentle master, and treat her fair.
Pandora, my love. Pandora!
I'll not be fair. Why call you me your love? Love is a little boy, so am not I.
I will allure her with fair promises. And when I have her in my leafy bower, I will pray to water nymphs and sylvan gods to cure her of this piteous lunacy.
Give me a running stream in both my hands, a blue king's fisher and a pebble stone, and I'll catch butterflies upon the sand. And thou, Gunophilus, shalt chop their wings.
I'll give thee streams whose pebbles shall be pearl, lovebirds whose feathers shall be beaten gold, musk flies with amber berries in their mouths, milk-white squirrels, singing popinjays, a boat of deerskins, and a floating isle, a sugar cane, and a line of twisted silk.
Where be all these?
I have them in my bower. Come, follow me.
Streams with pearl, birds with golden feathers, musk flies and amber berries, white squirrels, and singing popinjays, a boat of deerskins. Come, I'll go.
Exeunt Pandora and Stesias.
I was near in love with her till now. Oh, absolute Pandora, because foolish, for folly is woman's perfection. To talk idly, to look wildly, to laugh at every breach and play with a feather, is that would make a stock in love, yea, thou thyself. Ho, marce fili annum iam audientem cratipum idice Athenis. Gravity in a woman is like to a grey beard upon a breaching boy's chin, which a good schoolmaster would cause to be clipped and the wise husband to be avoided.
And enter Melos and the rest.
Yes. Where is thy mistress?
Catching a blue king's fisher.
Tell us, where is she?
Gathering little pebbles.
What, dost thou mock us?
No, but if she were here, she would make mouths at the proudest of you.
What meanest thou by this?
I mean my mistress is become foolish.
A just reward for one so false as she.
Hap betide those that intend us ill.
Never were simple shepherds so abused.
Gunophilus, thou hast betrayed us all. Thou broughtest this ring from her, which made me come.
And thou this bloody napkin unto me.
And thou this flattering letter unto me.
Why, I brought you the ring thinking you and she should be married together, and being hurt, as she told me, I had thought she had sent it for you as a surgeon.
But why broughtst thou me this letter?
Only to certify you that she was in health, as I was at the bringing thereof. And thus, being loth to trouble you, I commit you to God, yours, as his own, Gunophilus.
And he exits.
The wicked youngling flouts us. Let us go. Let him go.
Mortal Pan, where'er this lad remains, revenge the wrong that he hath done thy swains.
Oh, that a creature so divine as she, whose beauty might enforce the heavens to blush, and make fair nature angry at the heart, that she hath made her to obscure herself, should be so fickle and so full of slights, and feigning love to all, love none at all.
Had she been constant unto Iphicles, I would have clad her in sweet Flora's robes, have set Diana's garland on her head, made her sole mistress of my wanton flock, and sing in honor of her deity, where now, with tears, I curse Pandora's name.
The springs that smiled to see Pandora's face and leapt above the banks to touch her lips, the proud plains dancing with Pandora's weight, the jocund trees that veiled when she came near, and in the murmur of their whispering leaves did seem to say, Pandora is our queen. Witness how fair and beautiful she was, but now alone how false and treacherous.
Here I abjure Pandora, and protest to live forever in a single life.
The like vow makes Learchus to great Pan.
And Iphicles, though sore against his will.
In witness of my vow, I rend these lines. Oh, thus be my love dispersed into the air.
Here lie the bloody napkin which she sent, and with it my affection and my love.
Break Pandora's ring, and with it, break Pandora's love that almost burst my heart.
And enter Stesias, Pandora, and Gunophilus.
Where runs my love Pandora? Stay, gentle Pandora, stay. Run not so fast.
Shall I not stamp upon the ground? I will. Who saith Pandora shall not rend her hair? Where is the grove that asked me how I did? Give me an angle, for the fish will bite.
Look, how Pandora raves now she's stark mad.
For you she raves that meant to ravish her. Help to recover her, or else ye die.
May she with raving die. Do what thou darest.
She overreached us with deceitful guile, and Pan, to whom we prayed, hath wrought revenge.
I'll have the ocean put into a glass and drink it to the health of Stesias. Thy head is full of heady rocks, Iphicles. So, shake them off! Now, let me see thy hand. Look where a blazing star is in this line, and in the other 22 suns.
Come, Pandora. Sleep within my arms.
Thine arms are firebrands. Where's Gunophilus? Go kiss the echo and bid love untruss. Go fetch the black goat with the brazen heel, and tell the bellwether I hear him not. Not, that you should come not unto me this night. Not at all. At all. That's all.
And she sleeps.
He is asleep, master. Shall I wake her?
Oh, no, Gunophilus, let her there sleep, and let us pray that she may be re-cured.
Stesias, thou pitiest her that loves thee not.
The words we told thee, Stesias, were too true.
Never did Iphicles dissemble yet. Believe me, Stesias, she hath been untrue.
Yet will you slay me with your slanderous words? Did you not all swear for her chastity?
It was her subtle wit that made us swear. For, Stesias, no, she showed love to us all, and severally sent for us by this swain. And unto me he brought such honey lines as overcomed. I flew unto her bower, who, when I came, swore she loved me alone, willing me to deny the words I spoke, and she at night would meet me in the grove. Thus meaning simply, lo, I was betrayed.
Yes, brought me a bloody cloth, saying for my love she was almost slain. And when I came, she used me as this swain, protesting love and pointing me this place.
And by this bearer I received a ring, and many a loving word that drew me forth. Oh, that a woman should dissemble so. She then forswore Learchus and this swain, saying that Iphicles was only hers. Whereat I promised to deny my words, and she to meet me at Enipius' banks.
Wert thou the messenger unto them all?
I was, and all that they have said is true. She loved not you, nor them, but me alone. How oft hath she run up and down the lawns, calling aloud, "Where is Gunophilus?"
Oh, how my heart swells at these miscreants' words.
Let us leave him in this pensive mood.
Fret, Stesias, fret, while we dance on the plain.
Such fortune happened to incredulous swains.
Sweet is a single life. Stesias, farewell.
And exit the 3 other shepherds, leaving Stesias on stage.
Go, life! Fly, soul! Go, wretched Stesias! Cursed be Utopia for Pandora's sake! Let wild boars with their tusks plough up my lawns! Devouring wolves, come shake my tender lambs! Drive up my goats to some steepy rock and let them fall down headlong into the sea! She shall not live, nor thou, Gunophilus, to triumph in poor Stesias' overthrow.
But before Stesias can do anything desperate, and before the 7 planets wander in, Pandora number 2 can wake up. We can just have a little chat about what's been going on here. So we've got every Pandora under a different influence. Certainly not so keen on Gunophilus here. But then again, not really that keen on many people, really. And everybody comes a running. And Gunophilus, they're not very keen on him as messenger here, making a swift exit at one point. So yeah, lots and lots of possible things going on here. Thoughts from the room? I'm trying not to lead the witnesses too much. I do that too much sometimes. Liza, and then Alexandra.
Well, Pandora, under Luna's influence, goes through a lot of recognizable tropes of early modern mad scenes, as in she asks extravagantly for surreal sounding things. She sings. Mad people tend to sing, especially mad women tend to sing in these plays. She undergoes rapid changes in what she wants and what she asks for and her purposes. So, and again, this is super fun for the actor. I really enjoyed Sarah's rendition of it.
Thank you. It was
yes.
fun.
Alexandra.
I found an interesting linguistic and also mythological thing going on, which is that the shepherds invoke Pan, and they assume that Pan is the person who is their god, and he's like the only Greek god that has not appeared yet in this play, but that they assume he's somehow involved in this, and I think that's interesting in 2 ways. One is you could interpret Pandora's name as the gift of Pan, which is rather than the gifts of all the gods. So they would be rightly justified in interpreting her as Pan's kind of thing, but also Pan is associated with madness in the madness sense, whereas lunacy as this kind of representation of just moodiness and changeability and something that can be recovered from is a different kind of madness. So yes, I did find it slightly disturbing that that what the moon says she's going to give her is mutability, and what that translates into is lunacy in the crazy sense. But also there is an association there that is a linguistic association as well as a symbolic one, which we have since lost.
Other thoughts? Aliki?
Just following on from that, Pan isn't a planet, of course, and everybody else is there in their planetary as well as mythological form. But Pan is kind of another word for nature or for animal nature. So that kind of works too, since she was made by nature.
Well, and you know, this is all this utopian dream of nature, isn't it? This is this perfect project, which, having made some wonderful shepherds, nature decides to make them a woman, and thus the play begins. For those who weren't here yesterday, yeah, that's basically how it started. Mother Nature spreads some magic dust, and as in a similar fashion as I'm sure later did with Super Ted. Briony.
A couple of random thoughts that popped into my head during the course of that. Firstly, I think like nature has definitely got a lot to answer for. At some point here, I expect to be getting it when I finally come on. But the other thing is, I was pleasantly surprised that Stesias didn't ditch Pandora when he realized that she was mental for whatever reason, because it's still, even today, it's less so, but it is still kind of socially acceptable to not be able to deal with someone who's a bit too mental. But he actually kind of stood by her for a bit, up until the end when he said he's going to kill her now. But apart from that, I was pleasantly surprised by him.
Other thoughts? We have a relatively short amount of text left to go. We've got a few minor roles that I think I probably have to read to leap in here. We've got Venus will very briefly speak. I don't know who can double that meaningfully. And also Jupiter, I think, says a line as well. But for the moment, I will dance between those to fill in the gaps. Because yes, everybody's sort of passing the baton on as various planets appear.
Alexandra is volunteering, and so is Alan.
Alexandra does indeed not speak. I don't think you say anything. So yes, you can be Venus, and of course, yes, of course, Alan is free. Of course you are, because you're not. Yes, you can be Jupiter. Perfect. I knew there was something I was obviously missing there. Yes. Okay, so let's go into the final motion. Stesias is standing over Pandora, suggestive of bad things happening. Enter the 7 planets.
Stay, shepherd, stay.
Hurt not, Pandora, loveless Stesias.
She awakes and is sober.
What means my love? To look so pale and wan.
For thee, base strumpet, am I pale and wan?
Speak, milady, or I'll make thee crabbed swain. Or I'll make thee crabbed swain.
Take her again and love her, Stesias.
Not for utopia, no. Not for the world.
Ah, canst thou frown on her that looks so sweet?
Have I offended thee? I'll make amends.
And what canst thou demand more at her hand?
To slay herself, that I may live alone.
Lind-hearted shepherd, thou deservest her not.
If thou be Jove, convey her from the earth, and punish this Gunophilus, her man.
Gunophilus?
O Jove, let this be my punishment to live still with Pandora.
Enter nature.
Envious planets, you have done your worst, yet in despite of you, Pandora lives. And seeing the shepherds have abjured her love, she shall be placed in one of your 7 orbs. But thou that hast not served her as I willed, vanish into a hawthorn as thou standst. Ne'er shalt thou wait upon Pandora more.
Exit Gunophilus.
Oh, nature, place Pandora in my sphere, for I am old, and she will make me young.
Me, and I will leave the Queen of Heaven.
With me and Venus shall no more be mine.
With me, and I'll forget fair Daphne's love.
And I'll turn Cupid out of doors.
With me and I'll forsake Aglaurus's love.
No, fair Pandora, stay with Cynthia, and I will love thee more than all the rest. Rule thou my star while I stay in the woods, or keep with Pluto in the infernal shades.
Go where thou wilt, so I be rid of thee.
Speak, my Pandora, where wilt thou be?
Not with old Saturn, for he looks like death. Nor yet with Jupiter, at least Juno's storm. Nor with thee, Mars, for Venus is thy love. Nor with thee, Sol, thou hast two paramours, the sea-born Thetis and the ruddy Morn. Nor with thee, Venus, lest I be in love with blindfold Cupid or young Joculus. Nor with thee, Hermes. Thou art full of slights, and when I need thee, Jove will send thee forth. Say, Cynthia, shall Pandora rule thy star? And wilt thou play Diana in the woods, or Hecate and Pluto's regiment?
Ay, Pandora.
Fair nature, let thy handmaid dwell with her. For know that change is my felicity, and fickleness Pandora's proper form. Thou madest me sullen first, and thou, Jove, proud. Thou bloody-minded, he a Puritan, thou, Venus, madest me love all that I saw, and Hermes to deceive all that I love. But Cynthia made me idle, mutable, forgetful, foolish, fickle, frantic, mad. These be the humours that content me best, and therefore will I stay with Cynthia.
And Stesias, since thou setst so light on her, be thou her slave and follow her in the moon.
I'll rather die than bear her company.
Nature will have it, so attend on her.
I'll have thee be her vassal, murmur not.
Then, to revenge me of Gunophilus, I'll rend this hawthorn with my furious hand and bear this bush. If e'er she look but back, I'll scratch a face that was so false to me.
Now rule, Pandora, in fair Cynthia's stead, and make the moon inconstant like thyself. Reign thou at women's nuptials and their birth. Let them be mutable in all their loves, fantastical, childish, and foolish in their desires, demanding toys and stark mad when they cannot have their will. Now follow me, ye wandering lights of heaven, and grieve not that she is not placed with you. And you shall glance at her in your aspects, and in conjunction dwell with her a space.
Well, that they had my room.
I charge thee follow her, but hurt her not.
And play ends. So the Gunophilus is turned into a hawthorn, and we have another tree bush sort of crossover thing. All sorts of things. Again, I'm just going to leave the room to think about that for a while, because I think everyone maybe needs a moment just to take in that. Liza wants to leap in first.
I do, but if people need a moment, I can be like...
I don't need a moment. Get in there, Liza.
Okay, so I do like how Pandora actually gets to call the planets to account for what they did to her. Like, she gets to finally actually recognize what happened and object. in a way, the ending is misogynistic because they're like, oh, women are like they are because of this. And then we get the old man in the moon mythos of the guy with the hawthorn. There's a thorn bush in the moon, and that's why there's a thorn bush in the moon, obviously, because Stesias is taking one with her to try and scratch Pandora, which I hope he doesn't succeed at. It seems a little unjust to make Stesias go with her to the moon and have them stuck with each other for all eternity, but this was an era when divorce was really hard to come by, so what the gods have joined, no one can put asunder. And I do like how nature opens and closes the play. I like that nature's final word is dwell with her a space, even though they didn't use the word space for the regions of where the planets were. But we use it, so I'm quite liking that as a felicitous bit of phrasing. I'm shutting up now.
Aliki, then Tamara.
So it almost feels as if it's playing with the tropes of what I would call romantic comedy. It's playing with, like, the whole play has run through almost all of the cliches that it can run through, and in the end rejects them all and doesn't give you the happy ending, and that's fun, and I like it.
Yes, Lyly doesn't often give us a happy ending. I mean, it seems to be he deliberately never gives us a happy ending, or he gives us a very compromised ending. Tamara.
Well, I was going to say, for one, it feels like this is just one long play to tell us that women are ruled by the moon and therefore fickle. But I think there's an opportunity to do this play now with, the fact that all the aspects of the other planets seem to be part of when she's ruled by the moon. It's almost like it's, you could argue, for the sake of a modern production, that the moon is what allows her the most power, because she then gets to live all aspects that she wants to live, rather than be ruled by Saturn, be ruled by Mars, be ruled by Jupiter. But because the moon is fickle, therefore the moon is all aspects, if that makes sense. I'm rambling. I don't know how to put it into words.
Yeah, that's good. Sarah, then Valentina.
Makes perfect sense to me. And I mean, I would say that the happy ending comes from the fact that, yes, okay, there is this misogynistic message of like, oh, women are so, changeable, but people are changeable. Humans are changeable. Nobody likes to be stuck in one place forever. And so the fact that she gets to choose, and she chooses the moon, and she chooses the sort of changing nature of the moon, I think is really quite empowering, or at least you could play it that way. I think I said yesterday that this play would depend a lot on how you directed it, but I think you could turn this into quite a feminist play in a way, depending on the direction you took it in. I really enjoyed it, and I mean, also I always look for the queer potential in any play, and I think we've got it here, because that could be another happy ending of a sort there. The fact that she chooses Cynthia, I mean, you could direct that to be a kind of a meeting of minds and hearts there. It could be that they sort of find each other, and so yeah, I think it's got the misogyny is definitely there, but I think more than perhaps most other plays I've read in this group, I feel that this is the one that's got the most legs for actually doing something quite interesting and contemporary, and dare I say it, feminist with it.
Valentina, then Helen.
Yeah, I mean, the ending really does not satisfy me, but I like the fact that she gets to choose. That's what's important for me. I was like, well, she gets to choose. She might not take the choice that like other women would make, but she gets to choose. So I like that.
Helen.
Yeah, I think there are an awful lot of decisions that need to be made here. I mean, we get a number of clues, like Gunophilus is younger than the other shepherds, and then there are quite a lot of physical descriptions. So there's some direction, but there's very little direction about what is going on inside Pandora's conscious mind. So it's going to be interesting to know how much she herself is startled by what is happening to her moods. So if there is a moment in each of her new feelings, her new influences, where a sort of what the hell's going on moment, it would be quite interesting, because we don't get much of a feeling of what it's like to be Pandora going on this roller coaster.
Other thoughts about where we are? Was Gunophilus turned into a hawthorn? Discuss. And you know, just a. It's not an absolute, by the way. It's an inference based on what is said. It may not happen, but we have Lyly has got history of turning people into trees, or trees turning out to be people. So I'm just mentioning that. Rachael, then Briony.
No, I was just gonna kind of piggybacking off the other points that were made. How, you know, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Sol, they're all men, and but besides Venus and Luna, and to join any of their spheres, she would be ruled by a man. And I don't know if, like, in terms of casting, like for Venus and Luna, if you know, because Venus could be a married woman having an extramarital affair, and you know, because of her relationship with Mars, or you know, she could be a widow. I don't know if widows could maintain their property and wealth at this time, but it would give her more freedom to do. It would give a woman, I guess, in this period, if a widow could maintain that money and own things, more freedom. So it's like you have these two things. She's either got that chastity, or it's the love affairs that are in extramarital, or you know, postmarital.
Briony.
That was my first Lyly. I was a little bit forewarned from some of the comments that have been made in the room before about him. But actually, I really liked it. And on the face of it, it's not the most satisfying ending, but somehow it did satisfy me enough. I think it's workable. And I think all the points that have been raised are really, really, really interesting. I agree with what Sarah was saying about how you could potentially make it something really contemporary and exciting.
Liza. Muted at present.
I do agree that the ending is the ending is very feminine centered, and I also like that it's. I do accept what Sarah says about it possibly being a queer reading, which is very plausible, but I also like maybe the non-sexual or non-romantic aspect that she's she's been, you know, she's been very sexual through a lot of this play, not necessarily by her own will, but not necessarily by her own agency. And the moon, as well as being the planet of lunacy and mutability, is also Artemis, who's famously a solitary woman goddess who runs through the forest with a band of women hunting. She's also a patroness of women in childbirth, so she's a very woman-friendly goddess. And I think that that's and the early modern people did know this and make that connection with the moon and Diana, Artemis. So I think in that sense the ending is very nice. I just, like I said before, I don't know about sending Stesias up there with her. I think the happiest ending would be for her to get away from all these dudes. But Lily, you do you.
Yes, and if that question of who Pandora becomes at the end, if we put it into its historical time, Pandora is a name being used for the Queen at around about this time. So if you take that into account, it turns up in a Lord Mayor's show about almost exactly this point as one of the names used for the Queen. Turns up in some other literature as well. So not necessarily what Pandora was doing in the earlier part in the play, but Pandora as a figure who is up in the sky. Men may chase her, but they will never catch her. I'm spitballing a bit here, based on just a glancing reference, but just wondering whether there is something else going on here from the historical moment that we are not quite getting, that may also twist how it reads to us today, and makes it perhaps more difficult for us to read it today. Dan?
I've refrained from making comments because I'd seen a production of it.
Oh, but now is the time. You can start feeding them in. I think that's fine.
Right. It was from the Edwards Boys a couple of years ago. A very joyous production that had everyone in the audience standing and clapping along with them at the end. They had played Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In, as the closing jig song there. From what I recall of it, it pretty much did give the feminist reading that people have been advocating. The idea that Pandora from the start is being criticized, mocked, or whatever. The planets are unhappy with her. By the end, they're actually, quite marveling at the creation where she has become. And the shepherds, certainly now after reading one of the shepherds here, I certainly don't feel like, if I'm an audience member, I'm with the shepherds. They seem like a bunch of fools. So, and the fact that Gunophilus wants to be with her at the end. These are things that I would take away, no matter. I mean, depending on how much the production wants to censor on that, I think they easily come out without really any tweaking because it's there in the text already.
Other thoughts, Rachael? Then Stephen.
No, I was saying this yesterday about how it was interesting that there's the planets that are after her, and then also these shepherds guys, and I think I don't know how you said the Pandora thing, and that it was a nickname for Elizabeth, that maybe this is some of her dilemma in her marrying, because if she marries somebody who's English, he's one of her subjects, not like the shepherds, but like the shepherds, that they'd have some rank below her. And if she married Jupiter or Mars or one of them, they would be able to take the power from her, and she'd be entering into their power. I think those connections between Pandora and Elizabeth are interesting. And then also one more thing, what was it? Figure it out.
We can come back. Stephen, muted at the moment.
I'm really enjoying this discussion, and I really enjoyed the play. I was just wondering about the ending. People have spoken about the ending, and we sort of had an ending which isn't a resolution, don't we? And then I thought, and I really don't know enough about this, but then I thought, on the what we've got an ending, we've got a non-resolution which is also a resolution. Bear with me, in the sense that the entire play is a Shaggy Dog story about the man in the moon. The 5-year-old goes, so we could, sorry, I cheated and looked at the Rebels edition, and the idea of the man in the moon is supposedly that one of the shadows on the moon looks like a bloke carrying a bush, basically. And that's how they explained it. So on the one hand, it's a shaggy dog story told to a 5-year-old, which is, how did the man get into the moon? And it is like, well, okay. And you end up with this incredible thing where he's actually just tagging along because it's all about somebody else. But that is a resolution of how the man in the moon got to be the man in the moon. So I really like that. And then there is the other, if we look at it from the point of view of romantic comedy, then it's no resolution at all. It's, the sort of thing you see elsewhere in Lyly, which is that the kind of, the couple at the end, the bloke goes, well, all right, so I have to follow you, do I? Well, in which case I'm going to scratch your eyes out, So it strikes me as being, I may be overreading this, but it strikes me as being incredibly complicated way to have your kind of clever cake and eat it. In that it's so farcical, isn't it? As people have already been saying, there's, what we really need is, a room with 5 wardrobe doors or something for all of this stuff to work. It is a kind of bit, but, nobody's got any trousers and the vicar's coming to tea, isn't it? At least the bit I've read. And farce, of course, the thing about farce is that it gets a resolution. That we do have a very strong resolution. It's like an Agatha Christie story or something. It's incredibly complicated and there's bags of energy, but at the end we do get a resolution. And we do get a resolution, but it's the resolution to the other story, which is how the man in the moon got to be the man in the moon, which strikes me as being incredibly smart and satisfying. How to have an ending which is not a resolution, which is also a resolution. So if you're a drama fan, you're satisfied by that. We haven't had a neat kind of farce style ending to all of this because of the way that is. In terms of farce and romance, in terms of the couple, one of the couples at the end of the play. But on the other hand, we do. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Right. Maybe a crap idea. Explained it. Good.
Alexandra.
Further to Stephen's point, there's an element of simplicity to the way in which this is structured, and also it's so clean, right? There's no sex, there's kissing. There's no, we don't insult people of a skin color or of a faith or of anything. We don't make references to current events, and the narrative is not a narrative. So that, coupled with the fact that it was portrayed, I think you mentioned yesterday that this was done by a boys' company, most probably, kind of makes it, I think, contextualizes it for me in a way, along with what Stephen was saying, is that it feels as though, not necessarily that it would be a play produced to be presented to children, but it has that kind of storyline to it where things get complicated, but the stakes don't go very high, and everything is resolved in a nonsensical way at the end that only makes sense in 4-year-old logic. I don't know who the intended audience would have been for this, but it feels like a play that is written to be clean enough to be performed by young boys. And I have a further point to add to that, which is the size of the parts, because you've got parts that like a not a Christmas play, what do you call it, like a nativity play. It's got one major part with a lot of talking, a whole bunch of secondary parts that appear throughout the piece and have a lot of talking. So it's got 5-6 big parts, and like a nativity play, it has a few kind of small 2 episodic one-liner people. 30 boys in your class, you get to give the one that's good at acting the part, and the ones that really don't want to be there something to do.
Yes. The Aliki.
I think you're absolving it a bit too easily, both of the common racist tropes and of having violence and sex, all of which I'm pretty sure did happen. But I'm going to pick up on what you said about the part, because for me, that's the best thing. This is such a glorious, glorious central role. And actually, both Stesias and Gunophilus also get some really, really lovely stuff to do. But I like it a lot. I really liked it.
Yes. Now, I'm not going to go systematically around the room for final thoughts, but I'm definitely going to open it out now for final thoughts about this in modern performance terms, either for that matter if you've seen modern performances, or for that matter what we might do with it in terms of modern performance. I'm very interested in the practicalities now. I'm really starting to think about how one could reduce the cast size, because it's tad large. I mean, if you are playing with, able to do it with the boys' company, then or some kind of educational setting, then number of parts is not a problem. Though you might have to tone back what happens when people go off stage into caves. It seems to be a recurring theme of caves equals sex in these plays. It does seem to be what goes on there.
Where else are you gonna?
Yeah. You muted yourself at exactly the right moment there, Eric, I suspect. Any final thoughts in the room about this one? We've got a sort of core unit of the shepherds, the servant, and Pandora, and then we've got everybody else who perhaps could semi-rotate, and you slightly cheat the opening and the close so you don't have quite so many gods on at the same time. / planets, things. So general final thoughts. Helen?
I think that one of the ways to assist in solving your problem is that the gods should all be wearing, the planets should all be wearing a mask. So you've got your Venus mask, your Mars mask, whatever. And in fact, at need, they need not be worn, especially as there are no lines. If there are no lines, they need not be worn by the same person. And this would certainly assist.
Yes, I think it's only the opening and the close of the play that would need to be tweaked to avoid them all appearing at the same time, because otherwise you inevitably hit sort of 15 actors, whatever you do. But yes, I very much agree.
Yeah, it's just that, at the beginning and the end, you don't have the shepherds in that first and last scene.
They pop in and out, don't they? Yeah. Yes, I'd forgotten that. Yes, so you can trim them back by at least 3. Aliki, then Sarah.
Following on from Helen's point about the masks, I'm going to suggest something that I almost never suggest, which is that you could pre-record them. Because they're gods, they could be on video, they could be somewhere else and projected. You could even have the masks on stage with a little speaker behind each one, if you wanted. You could cheat that. I am generally all for liveness happening live, but I think them being gods gives us that exit if we want it.
Yes, this is where we all start getting very Gordon Craig about it all, don't we? Giant puppets, giant marionettes. Sarah, then Liza.
Yeah, Aliki just said exactly what I was thinking. I some of the gods you would actually want on stage. Jupiter, you couldn't do him any other way. You'd want him down there being handsy. But I was thinking there are certain gods like Mercury, perhaps. You could have them as video projections and record them, have another member of the cast. I mean, like, it would be quite fun if all the rest of them were sort of had masks and was sort of, yes, quite abstract in their costume, and then you just had a bloody great projection of the actual planet, Mercury. Because he is slightly different. He's the messenger of the gods. He comes between the worlds, between the corporeal and the godlike. So you could just literally have the planet there, projected on the back and a recorded voice, and so then that would cut down one of your parts for at the end when everybody has to come on. It's one less person to find.
Liza.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, Sarah's comment made me think about a virtual production where the gods have their planet as their virtual background. But on the other hand, there's so much physical interaction in this play. There's so much fighting and kissing and asides to someone, and those things are hard to do virtually. Not impossible, but not easy. I did see the wonderful production by the Dolphins back at the Globe, and they had some wonderful actors. I can't recall the lady's name who played Pandora, but she was fantastic. And the bit with Jupiter's scepter was really funny. It was obviously seen by everyone as a phallic symbol, so he handed it to her and she accepted it, and then she threw it on the ground very, very violently, and then obviously Juno ends up holding it, so that was super fun. Yeah, Dolphins back. See their stuff. They're good.
Absolutely. Other thoughts from the final thoughts in the room? Anyone wants to throw final things in? Stephen, Rachael, and Alexandra.
Yeah, I've been thinking a little bit more about that sort of how that sort of ensemble ends up at the end of the play, because I'm so shallow. I haven't read the first half of it. I was just thinking about Stesias, because we have a transformation at the end, possibly, which is somebody's turned into a bush, but we have a transformation before that in the sense that Stesias is Pandora, and that reminded me a little bit of a play, a film by Derek Jarman, of a play by somebody whose name I can't quite recall, and a title which is something to do with a storm at sea, where at the end of it, 3 or 4 of the characters have got themselves dragged up, and even though the ending of that film is very, very serious, we have this sort of travesty element to it. So in other words, what I'm thinking so I suppose it's speaking to 2 things. One is the transformation scene. How much if we're doing a production now, how much of a transformation of Stesias is there, i.e. the Rebels very chastely says, puts on women's clothing and obviously takes it off straight away. But we could do something a bit more, a bit more lippy. And so one is that we've got another transformation scene, and I think it's really interesting that Lyly gives us, Ovid is all about transforming people into bushes and rocks and flowers, and Lyly gives us somebody who's transformed into the opposite sex or gender, as you prefer. And I wonder then how this would inflect the sort of nastiness of Stesias at the end, if Stesias is still wearing, I don't know, a dress and lipstick and some nice big earrings or something like that.
Yeah. Rachael.
Okay. No, I don't know if this is just how it's coming off to me, but I don't know if there's some criticism or some nudging, joking between Lyly towards Elizabeth about that she's not marrying and that she's not pregnant, or if it's like a catch-22 where she can't, but it's the criticism brought against her. Altogether, I do think the feminist interpretation of this play would be nice. And I think out of the Lyly plays so far, this is the one that I like the best.
Alexandra, I think, was it? Yes?
Yes, I feel as though whichever way you put this on, it would incline in a misogynist or a feminist direction, and the fact that it ends with "ist" displeases me, because I think it's more interesting, but I don't know how one would do that as a production. There are some kind of things you could push on from the text, but that's not what they're designed for. What I'm suggesting is some sort of reading where all humans are human, And the point of Luna being the best match is because she allows for mutability. She allows for this person to be changeable. I don't know if it's enough to make some of the shepherds and some more of the gods female. I don't know how that would resolve, because there still isn't a resolution to the plot. And I also, kind of to amend my previous statement, I don't think there isn't violence and all of these other kind of issues that we usually encounter. It's that they're not always outright. There is outright violence. There's definitely implied sex. There's implicit racism. There's outright sexism. And so I think it's for a modern production, I would find it very problematic, because I think you would need to take a stance as a production, and then whichever stance you take, there will be people on the opposite side who are very upset by it.
Dan?
I'm basically I just wanted to bring back up the point I brought up yesterday, that I really do think it's important to know that, or to remember that Lyly, we assume that this was performed by Paul's children, but we know it was performed at court, much like the rest of his plays were, much with a lot of the same types of themes. I just can't really imagine that the Queen would have wanted to continue seeing this over and over, these types of themes playing, if it was basically attacking her. I can see that maybe poking at her like here and there, but it's hard for me really to not be able to not read this as some sort of critique of the men in society, the way that they try to control and mold a woman. So in that sense, while you may not be satisfied with the resolution, or Lyly may not just be your cup of tea, I do feel like this really is supposed to be, I guess, a positive play in the end, that one is supposed to take this, if not just for the fact that the men are made out to be buffoons in many of his plays, not just this one. So, and nature, I mean, the planets rather also are, they're being criticized definitely for it, and for their actions, for trying to shape the way that a woman is the way the woman should be.
Yeah, it's we're as ever in those that interesting camp of if we're performing this, we're performing it for an audience, we're performing it today. I think there's a very strong case to be made that if this was being performed before Queen Elizabeth, that if Pandora is associated with her, then this is a narrative about a woman who lives in isolation from being married and from men, having spent a very reasonable amount of her life being chased and being told who she should marry. In which case, this is actually the reading of this play becomes quite different. But obviously that doesn't matter to today's audience. And so, as Alexandra was saying, we have to take a line as to how we're presenting this and what we're doing. And for that matter, there is an element that towards the end, all we need to do is actually tweak some lines to make the way that dialogue at the end land in a way that, at the moment, makes us sort of go. And some of that's down to phrasing as well as everything else. But then there are other routes we might take. Remember, this is just, to a degree, if we boil it down, this is all just material. We can do what we like with it. I know some of us want to do it exactly as it's written, but there's no one stopping us. You can do what you like. I can write an entirely different ending if you want. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you. I'm saying that to the wider world watching at home. Eric, I could try, but it's not going to work, is it? Clearly not. I'm in a small room. There's no way I can't touch you. I have no military force or strength to force you to do anything. It's your life, Eric.
Is this the bit where we cue an MC Hammer? Can't touch it. Anyway, yeah, moving on. What I was going to say is maybe we're kind of pondering this a bit too much, because this is like we haven't seen this at pace. Which is like sort of what we talk about with other bigger plays, longer plays, sometimes, that we've not seen this, how it works at full speed. It is a very fast play considerably as well, but we haven't sort of seen whether these land or if it's sort of just yeah.
Dan again.
Just to go back, I mean, we didn't have this issue as so much with Taming of a Shrew, but it seems to be cropping up a lot here about, tweaking text and trying to shape it for this audience today because it's problematic. Just for me, I mean, Alexandra, I put in the chat the idea of feeling preached at. I always feel like there's a danger when we start to tweak these plays too much. I mean, we can shape it the way we want, we can act it the way that we want. Once we start really tweaking the dialogue, I don't mind moving places here and there or making something a little bit more understandable. But once we start changing the meaning of what certain lines are meant to be, I feel like now there's a danger of preaching to the audience. Yeah, this is exactly what I want you to think. This is what you're supposed to take away from it. There's going to be people who are always, no matter how much you cater to them or try to make it open to them, they're always going to find something wrong with it. It's never enough. So the moment we start tweaking, I think that's always the problem, which is why I'm usually a fan of adaptation by moving text around or cutting scenes or playing it a certain way versus I'm going to rewrite a scene so it serves my purposes.
Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who does a lot of rewriting myself, I have to say, like, to me, this play doesn't need any rewriting. I mean, and as for the thing of like, well, are you going to alienate some of your audience? Every romantic comedy we've looked at, we grapple with this problem of like misogyny versus feminism. How could you do it for a modern audience today? What would you do with it? Would you cut a line here? Would you swap a scene around there? It's down to the individual director, and you're always going to have people. It doesn't matter what you do with it. There are always going to be people who are not going to like it, and you've just got to do what you want to do with it. And then if people like it, great. And if they don't, they don't. Half of them will, half of them won't. You've just got to create the production that you want to create as a director. But I mean, one of the things I love about this play is that there is so little that you need to do to it, or that I personally would want to do to it to actually get it on stage. I think it's a fantastic play. I mean, I like Lyly in general, but I think this is just leapt up into number one position for me.
Yes, and of course I think we've said this off camera before, but basically, if it works, it works. I mean, if what you do is terrible, then it won't be very good. But if you do something really good, then it'll be a great show. Other final thoughts? We're very much at the end of the session. Anyone have anything else before I start to wind us down? Are you waving, Elizabeth, or just holding your hand in a generally upward direction?
I'm thinking very deeply about the comments that have been in the chat and in the forum. I've just been a bit blown away, actually. I think it was fantastic. It felt like something I should be reading in an academic book. I was really, really just away with the fairies there.
That's absolutely fine. I think that's a perfectly legitimate response. I did tell everyone to take a moment earlier. The length of the moment is entirely down to you. Liza, I think you were waving.
Oh, just very quickly, because I've talked a lot, I know this. But that when one talks about modification, my concerns are not quite the same as Daniel's. It's just when you modify a text, especially an early modern text, past a certain point, the question comes up of why do this play? And before, so I think we are all charmed and intrigued to some degree by this play, but if you try and iron out the problems, is it still then this play? Do you iron out the soul of it? So I think, I don't know, what I would probably first do is hold a reading of an uncut, unaltered text and see what came out of it, and go from there.
And of course, if you want to write your own version, then also that's absolutely fine. That's the great thing about material. Give it a slightly different title so as not to tee off people who might be trying to see this play, and go for it. That is also a very legitimate way of going forward. Though usually something I keep reserved for something that's really, really problematic, which this is much less so. Any other final thoughts? As I do need to close the session down. Don't feel pressured not to say a final thought if you are bursting to speak. No. Well, that closes it for now. I have to say I'm still looking forward to doing my science fiction ballet version of this play, because I feel that it lends itself remarkably well to that. And that's just me. So all that remains is to thank all the wonderful thoughts on the people, all their wonderful readings, and of course the presence of their wonderful cats. Thank you very much, and goodbye. She awakes and is sober.